I very much adopt the mindset of just fake it till you make it. Say yes, and then it'll all come along. Get in where you fit in. Find the spots that make sense for you and make yourself undeniable in those. For me, I knew my spot wasn't going to be in the ring. That was where I had kind of been working and fiddling around with the idea of a manager character, and that ended up where I got my foot in the door at Santino Bros, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. The opportunity, I should say, to do backstage interviews. And I think it was such a special company. They created an environment where there was so much investment in the people. I would like pull a wrestler and be like, hey, come like have cereal with me. I'll do like a cute little like interview thing. Our wrestling grind is like, they're my home. First interaction with Andy Brown. He was the main event of the first show I ever worked. I just want to tell good stories.
Ladies and gentlemen, hosted by Coach C, Chris Sanders, this is Best for Business.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Another episode of Best for Business. I'm so pumped for this one. Alyssa Marino, thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
I'm pumped for this. Now, one thing that sticks off right off the rip about you is your creativity, your confidence. So I'm curious for you, when we talk confidence, prior to pro wrestling, did you always have that confidence? And if not, how did you gain it?
I still don't think I have it.
Wow.
I very much adopt the mindset of just fake it till you make it.
Okay.
I did theater a lot as a kid. I've been performing since a young age. And I feel like it always came with this degree of just figure it out. Like say yes, and then it'll all come along. But we're all human. I still don't think I have a ton of confidence, but I hopefully play it off well.
When you talk about theater, I'm curious, like, what was like some of your most proudest things doing theater? Some of the roles you had?
Oh my gosh. So oh boy, I did a lot of musicals as a kid. So I did like Fiddler on the Roof and The Sound of Music. But as a young adult, I actually got to do some operas, which was really cool. I got to do The Tenderland. I got to do Orpheus in the Underworld, which was really fun. I did a lot of like recitals and stuff like that. So there are a lot of really cool musical pieces that I got to perform that I absolutely am so proud of.
Nice. So I'm curious, you take that confidence, you say you don't have it, but I think everyone else thinks you do. But I'm curious, how do you make that approach to make it to pro wrestling?
Honestly, it is that mindset of say yes to the opportunity and then figure it out. In wrestling, it's always been, even in training when I was at Santino Bros Wrestling Academy, it was always like get in where you fit in, like find the spots that make sense for you and make yourself undeniable in those. So it was, a lot of listen, learn, and take the feedback and figure out where your spot is. For me, I knew my spot wasn't going to be in the ring. Mm-hmm. So finding different ancillary ways to kind of be part of it and help support the wrestlers was my spot.
When you talk about Santino Bros, I'm curious for you, what were some of the biggest lessons that you learned there?
Listen, shut up, listen. Ask for feedback. Take the feedback and make it your own. Always bring your gear. Always bring your gear was the big one. Yeah. That was how I got my first opportunity. Was I had come straight from work to a show, and the idea was thrown around. It was Brody King who had talked to Joey Kaos, the head of Santino Brothers, and said, hey, give I was doing a manager character at the time, that Kathy from Human Resources, like, hey, give the HR girl a shot. And I was prepared to step in at the moment and just do what I had to do.
So when you go to Santino Bros, originally, is it pro wrestling that's your goal?
I went to Santino Bros as a one-day tryout.
Okay.
And I think initially in the back of my mind, I never thought I would be a wrestler, but I was like, well, I'm curious. Let me see what it's like. And it was very intense. They don't mess around. They show you what it's like. So it was the rolls, the bumps, but the best part was doing the promo. Nice. And that was where I had kind of been working and fiddling around with the idea of a manager character. And that ended up where I got my foot in the door at Santino Bros.
Nice. When you look at your career, I'm curious to you, what would you consider like your first big opportunity?
Honestly, it was probably there. It was a Santino Brothers house show. It was just right at the dojo. And that opportunity to kind of set the stage of who I was as a character, that was one of like I think the biggest ones. And then just because it was the first opportunity to really like be in front of a wrestling crowd, and a live crowd at that. I think that after that, kind of like adjacent to that, was Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. There I had gotten the option, or the opportunity I should say, to do backstage interviews, and it kind of came about. And it was another one where luckily I had my like work uniform in my like trunk of my car, and they were like, "Hey, we want to give you an audition." So I was like, "Oh, all right." So luckily I had like a nice shirt to change into after like being all like messed up from doing the ring. And I was thrown into, it was Ty Matthews that I got to do like a little rant. I don't even know what the hell I asked him. But I was able to like kind of bounce off of him and do that on stage or on screen audition, and ended up being a part of that broadcast team for a few years, and it was really awesome. That was like the first broadcasting shot.
What was like a Championship from Hollywood like audition? Like they just give you someone and just let you be how you want and see how you like handle it? Yeah,
it was pretty much like, hey, we're gonna have you interview Ty. So I think I was so new at the time, but Ty was so nice. I was like, hey, so what do you want to talk about? And then he kind of gave me ideas like, well, I'm in this I got this thing going on with Watts, so let's serve me up something like that. So it was kind of thinking on the fly of like, okay, what question can I ask to make this compelling, and then reacting to what Ty said.
Nice. So when you look at your career, your resume keeps going and going. The first big one, obviously, I want to ask you about, how does NXT come to be for you?
Oh, wow. So I got to do extra work for WWE. I had put in my name, and usually it's always wrestlers. And usually it would come alongside, I think the timing of it was they would try to give people opportunities to have, tryout matches, as well as do, the actual extra work backstage. And I remember I had signed up on like the WWE career portal.
I love
it. That you had to do in order to get picked, to be able to do extra work. So I had done that. And then I think one of the big things, I don't know how much this played into getting my name in the right ears, but I went to Chicago to do a seminar. And it was an Evolve seminar, and it was for wrestlers. No, it was for referees, managers, and maybe, no, I don't even think they were ring announcers. It was basically like non-wrestlers.
Okay.
But it was very specific, managers and referees or something like that.
Yeah.
And wrestlers. I'm sorry. It was wrestlers, referees, and managers. Okay. So I was like, well, I can manage. Let me do that. And I remember it was Tommaso Ciampa that was like the speaker at the seminar. And one of the things he had said was like, oh, okay, we're going to do these tryout matches. Make sure that you do things that showcase who you are and show you in the best light. Don't do anything that's like you're trying it for the first time. Like, make sure that it's something you feel confident with. And I got up in my little gimmick for the manager, and at that time I wasn't managing. I was a ring announcer, I was a commentator. I was like, what am I doing? I was going match to match. I'm like, do you guys need a manager? No? Okay, cool, thanks. I didn't know anybody there. And so I ended up going to, it was a referee, and I went, hey, is it okay? I'm not a manager. I'm a commentator. Can I like commentate these matches? He was like, and Champ was like, can she do that? I think she could do that. Yeah, you could just do that.
Wow.
So I was recording it on my phone, these audio files. And I think I sent them to like Gabe Sapolsky. I sent them to, Sal, who had been part of Evolve. I basically just kind of like did what I could and got notes from some people. And I was like, well, that's what I do. So let me showcase that. And I truly believe, because I still don't know to this day, that it was a mixture of those things that put me on the radar and eventually got me reached out to in order to make my way into an audition for NXT.
Nice. So when you talk NXT, it was Kate Marino there, right?
Kat Marino, yes.
How do you keep your last name there in that? Because some people still don't.
I think there were just no one was close to a Marino.
Okay.
So I think it made me stand out enough. I couldn't be Alyssa because I was working under Alicia Taylor. Yeah. So I was like, you can't have Alicia and Alyssa.
Yeah.
And Kathy Kelly was also working, so I couldn't do Kathy Campanelli, which was my gimmick name back in the day. So I was like, okay, can we do Kat? So I was like trying to like figure stuff out, and that ended up being the one that they were like, yeah, we're cool with that.
Nice.
So.
What was like a day in the life you think for NXT?
A day in the life was usually I would go to the performance center and it was like a wrestling show. You would go around, make your rounds. So you would
Yeah.
say hi to like the coaches that were in the offices, and you would say hi to like the people that were, in the main office room. You would go say hi to the wrestlers that were working out and doing their, their training classes. And then it was a lot of tape study for me.
Okay.
We had a big room that had a big ring in it. And it was all a blacked out room. So you would be able to, I would set up my phone on like a tripod, and I would just walk around like practicing my pre-show segments for our NXT live events. I would practice ring announcing. It was a lot of like vocalizing. I
Yeah.
remember I would just practice saying people's names different ways. And then I would watch a lot of tape. I would watch back events that I had done over the weekend and go over some feedback with Alicia. And usually on a Friday or Saturday, it was like, get your printout, your rundown of the next week of that weekend's live events, and then go hit the road.
Nice. Is there a moment from NXT that stands out for you?
I honestly think it was just like the first times getting to do like the interviews backstage.
Nice.
I remember I got to do one with Charlotte that was really, really cool. I got to do a bunch with now Nixon Newell, but Tegan Knox at the time.
Yeah.
I like worked with her a lot, and it was really fun because it was always like, "Oh, Kat, go ahead," and we
Yeah.
would have these like funny little things. Like she would always try and incorporate a line from The Office, so it'd be
Nice.
like, "Oh, well, my heart soars with the eagle's wing," and it was
Yeah.
like it was just funny little things. But
Yeah.
it was I would say those opportunities and those chances to kind of like be on camera and do those interviews was probably the best.
Nice. So when you talk your resume, another company that stands out, I'm curious, Ring of Honor, how does this one come to be?
Oh, Ring of Honor was because they were in they were in Las Vegas, and at the
Okay.
time I was living in LA, and there were wrestler friends of mine that were going to, help with the ring and try to get an opportunity. So it ended up that I was like, "Hey, can I hop in the car? I'll throw in for gas. Like, let's
Yeah.
go." So went there. I helped out with setup, and eventually I want to say again it might have been Brody because I think he was there at the time. He was a big help, that Brody King.
Nice. Yeah.
And it word got around that they're like, okay, this is, oh, and you know what too? I had reached out to Ian Riccaboni
Yeah.
about trying to get feedback on matches. I was like, hey, if you have time, like I want to send you a match and just get kind of like your feedback, a little bit of like critique on my commentary. So I think I knew him and Caprice were there, and I think Ian was like aware that I was there, and that kind of just worked out. I think it was a 2-night show, and I think it was the second night that I got to hop in for a match to do commentary.
Yeah.
Then around the time of the shutdown, I think it was around like 2020, 2021,
hmm
they were doing the big Ring of Honor women's tournament, and they started doing these women's wrestling Wednesdays, or they would
Yeah.
play like women's wrestling matches, and they decided to do a Ring of Honor podcast. And around that time, I was in touch with Maria Kanellis Bennett from Women's Wrestling Army. That was, I think, before Women's Wrestling Army even
Yeah.
started.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Hey, I think you'd be great as like our host to kind of like make this happen. You worked with some Ring of Honor in the past." So that ended up being a little foot in the door for me to host a podcast with Maria and with Lufisto. We would sometimes have different guests come on for different interviews. But that was a really, really cool experience to get to talk to so many different people. And they're both like legends in the craft. So
Yeah.
it was awesome to pick their brains.
When you talk doing that podcast, did you have a lot of reign of creativity of what you wanted, or was it up to Maria or whoever else to tell you, like, this is the topic this week?
I think that I was kind of given free reign on
Nice.
what I wanted to kind of throw out to
Yeah.
them. It was usually always like a structure of like, well, what's new in the news? I think Maria was usually the one that would like get our guests, so I would go off of that and like craft my own questions
Nice.
and things to different like to serve up to the guests. But for the most part, I was given pretty much free reign of anything I wanted to bring to the podcast.
What was it like for you to be a part of Women's Wrestling Army? I remember when it was first announced, there was so much hype around it. So for you personally to be a part of it, what was it like for you?
Oh, it was amazing.
Because you don't see companies that often, I feel like.
No, it's true, and it felt so novel and so unique, and I think it was such a special company because it really gave everyone just a safe place to find who they were, to there was so much of an emphasis, and I really thank Bobby Cruz and Maria for this. They created an environment where there was so much investment in the people. They didn't just want you to be a wrestler who would go in there and do the moves. They wanted to know who you are. They wanted to know what your story was. And there was so much invested into telling those stories that I think that was what really set it apart, is that these women, these competitors, were able to like find and express who they were outside of just the squared circle. And it was an honor and a privilege to be part of that.
Yeah. So when I talk about being a mark for Alyssa Marino, I'm curious if you, we talk podcast, what was the ultimate idea behind Let's Get Serial? Because I remember I was looking back at your YouTube channel the other day, Ashley Vox, Jordan Castle, I watched them all. So I'm curious for you, what was like the ultimate like goal, I guess, for it?
So it actually happened because I had too much cereal at my house. It was a beautiful problem to have, but in LA at shows where I was doing commentary or ring announcing, fans knew I loved cereal, so they started bringing me boxes of cereal. And I was like, well, what am I going to do with these? I started bringing them to shows. I started having them like backstage. I was like, oh, guys, I brought catering as a little joke. And then I started going like, hey, do you want to sit down and like, I would like pull a wrestler and be like, hey, come like have cereal with me. I'll do like a cute little like interview thing. And it would just last for as long as we had our cereal. Like there was no pressure. It was very, very off the cuff. And I would do them before shows. And that kind of became Let's Get Serial. It was an interview show, and then eventually it expanded. You know, we did some virtual interviews during a time where we could not be connected in person. I did some, get ready with me serials. I did some just like talking serials. I started doing like, listing my favorite things serials. It was just a way to kind of pass the time. And I always wanted it to be something where if you don't have someone to sit and have breakfast with, you could sit and have breakfast with me. I will have breakfast and I'll talk to you while we do that. It was just a way to connect over food. How
did you handle the pandemic for you?
It was terrifying, but I think at the time I was in Florida and I just wanted to, I just tried to like support local businesses. So I was just like, I'm going to order from this takeout spot this weekend and this takeout spot the other weekend. And I just wanted to like support all the restaurants around me for some reason. That's like how I coped, I guess. I did, face some major fears and just, make my way out to California again to do some work with Championship Wrestling. Went back home for a bit just to kind of connect with my family. So finding the support in both friends and family, as well as like my wrestling family. And like, I think that the distraction of staying busy with pro wrestling was huge, a huge help for my mental.
When you talk about originally saying yes to every opportunity, I'm curious for you. You've done theater, you've done so many things. Was pro wrestling always the goal?
Never.
So how did you come across it to begin with?
The one day tryout at Santino's.
Wow.
My roommate I was living with in LA loved wrestling, and as a birthday gift, I'm like, hey, let's do the one day tryout. It'll be fun.
Wow.
Because I had just kind of like started getting back into wrestling. I watched when I was like very, very young, and then I didn't watch like all through high school, college. So like everything was new to me. But I started getting really into it, and I was like watching on a weekly basis. And once we did the tryout at Santino's, I was like, well, I love this.
Wow.
Damn it. Now what do I do? And luckily Santino's actually ended up hosting a class. It was specifically a manager class just for non-wrestling people. It was everything from photographers, referees, setup, production. Like we would do these full showcases called Up All Night. Nice. And it would be specifically run by the students, and it was so much fun. And it was that was our kind of place to like try out different things. It was all closed to just like students and staff, and it was awesome. But that manager class, like that was a game changer.
Yeah. Do you have any chaos stories?
You know what? I was always just very, very cool with chaos, but nice. I feel like there was always like a reverence of like, it was always very nice, but I don't think I got any like big stories on him. Okay. I do remember him trying to teach me like part of a wrestling spot. And it was just so, so terrible. But he was so patient and he was so kind. And I thank him to this day because he very well could have been like, hey, we should just not ever do this. But he was
Wow.
very encouraging
Yeah.
and I really appreciated his support on that. But that was not my calling. That was not what I was
Yeah.
supposed to do in life.
So when you look at your career, there's some companies now want to ask you, do you have any pro wrestling grind stories that stick out or moments for you being a part of them?
Oh my God, Pro Wrestling Grind is
Yeah.
like, oh, they're my home. I
Yeah.
love them so much. It's so funny just because their RPM Fest is going to be happening next week.
Mhm.
And RPM Fest is where I have one of like our funniest random stories of the just make it work mentality of pro wrestling in general. But this one
Mhm.
happened at Pro Wrestling Grind. So RPM Fest is a rock, punk, and metal festival. It's a
Okay.
weekend long, but on the last day, this beautiful relationship happened where they end the weekend with pro wrestling.
Is this in the
So
tent?
yes, yes,
Okay.
this is under the tent. We do it, and it's usually one of the last events of RPM Fest is a pro wrestling grind show.
Yeah.
So we had we get there and it's usually like stupid hot and we all like, get together and we all do the setup of the ring and we get everything because Grind has such an awesome presentation with like the sliding doors, the beautiful lights. So we get everything set up and this one particular RPM Fest, there's a car coming from Maine that has both of our referees and our ring announcer.
Okay.
And that car either gets a flat tire, something happens, but we're in contact and we're like, oh, guys, we don't have anyone to ref and we don't have a ring announcer. So it ended up that myself and Top Shelf Troy Nelson, who are the two other commentators alongside Johnny Torres,
Yeah.
are pulled into action. And it ends up that I ring announce and Troy refs. And it was such a blast
Nice.
because it was just such the beauty of like, hey, we're gonna figure this out together. Let's make it happen. The show must go on.
Nice.
And I think that was where we ended up creating it was like an ongoing joke that Troy was the RPM Best of Fest champion. And we decided to develop this rule. Instead of him defending the championship, we decided to create the idea that, oh, well, the RPM Best of Fest championship is won by a new person every year. So the former winner is the guest referee, and then you have two new people that compete for it. That just kind of happened.
I love
because
it.
of the situation.
Yeah.
And then it ended up working out because Andy Brown, who had been coming back from an injury, he had actually won that year, but he was coming back from an injury the following year, so he ended up guest refereeing.
Wow.
And it worked out perfectly, and we had two new contenders that got to vie for the title.
How come
So
you didn't want to referee that show?
I'm good. I am
Yeah.
distressed by that,
Yeah.
and there's a beautiful art to good refereeing that I think people just think like, oh, it's just reffing. It is so not just reffing.
Yeah.
There's so much responsibility to be a referee that I am like, nope, you guys can do that.
Yeah.
I don't think referees get nearly enough credit that they deserve.
Yeah. I'm curious to you, is there a Blitzkrieg moment that stands out?
Blitzkrieg moment that stands out.
Or a match that you got to be a part of on the call for?
There was a match that I think was really, really special that I absolutely love to this day, and it was Andy Brown and Anthony Green.
Nice.
They opened the show. Oh, I can't even tell you what event it was, but it's on IWTV. If you
Yeah.
look up Blitzkrieg Pro, it was Limit Blitz, we called it, because it was Limitless and Blitzkrieg, and it was a 2-day event.
Nice.
And they opened the show, and it was just, I remember being like jaw on the floor. That match was so enjoyable. I was really proud to be part of that. We've also been having some really awesome matchups with like Charles Mason, and he just had one with Priscilla Kelly that was out of this
Nice.
world, as well as Zachary Wentz at the last Blitzkrieg show. So there's always, I think, incredible talent and incredible matchups that we get to see happen. No funny stories that I can quite think of off the top of my
Yeah.
head, but just like those shows are such a blast to be part of.
Nice. When you look at your career, has there been a favorite venue that you get to perform in?
Wow, that's a great question. Oh man. I think back in the day,
Okay.
Oh man, this was like back in LA at the Bootleg Theater.
Okay.
Was just such a kick-ass venue. And I remember the energy there was always fire. They had like a sick locker room too with like couches and like a green room and a dartboard. Like that was just a really kick-ass place.
Nice. I'm curious for you. What's your first interaction with Andy Brown?
Oh my gosh, my first interaction with Andy Brown was going to Championship Wrestling from Hollywood for a taping as a fan and
Okay.
seeing him, but then meeting him at Santino Brothers. He was the main event of the first show I ever worked.
Wow.
And I remembered it was just part of like you go around, you shake everyone's hand, and I remember shaking his hand, and that was my first ever interaction with him.
Nice. And nowadays I see it. What are you doing with NWA? I see breaking down shows or predicting like as they come out.
Oh yeah, so with NWA,
Yeah.
I was doing a little bit of voiceover work for them. So they
Nice.
had a segment in their episodes called Around the Territories, where it just kind of like recaps just different things that are going on in different NWA promotions around the country. And then I was also doing some previews for them of like, hey, this week on this week's episode, and yeah, they've been really fun just to kind
Nice.
of like break down the things that fans can see on the upcoming episodes.
And I'm curious, do you have any goals for? I see you doing Duolingo every day nowadays. Do you have any goals with that?
I have so many goals with
Okay.
Duolingo. I would love to feel confident having a conversation in Italian.
Nice.
At this time, I can like slowly get through it. I'm
Yeah.
better reading and writing, but I would love to be able to like have a conversation at like normal Italian pace.
Yeah, I took it for 4 years. I don't know one thing about it.
Same. And I
Yeah.
still have to do Duolingo. Like,
Wow. I'm
yeah.
curious for you when we talk about goals. Do you have any goals in general for anything in wrestling? Because you've accomplished so much and it keeps going and going your resume. So is there anything else that you still want to do?
I just want to tell good stories.
Nice.
I want people to listen to a match I call, and the wrestlers that are in the match, I want them to go like, I'm happy with that. I'm cool with that. That
Nice.
sounded good.
Yeah.
That's always my goal, is just to make the wrestlers happy with how their stories are coming across.
If someone was to ask you, is there like one match that you called that you would say like defines your career, or one match that sticks out?
Oh man. Not a single one.
Yeah. Wow.
Like
Yeah.
they go by in such a blur that I'm always just, I've definitely had some calls where I've been like, "Oh yeah, I'm so glad I said that," or "I'm so proud of that specific moment." But I'm such a horrible critic of myself that I would never, like, there's no one match where I'm like, that was perfect.
Yeah. When you look throughout your career, who would you consider like your biggest mentors?
Definitely Lenny Leonard.
Nice.
I remember him taking a chance on me when I did that seminar in Chicago.
Yeah.
And he let me take the reins on the pre-show match and gave me great feedback. I remember him, and I still have it. He had this big index card that he would do his notes on, and he wrote me an index card of notes as I was calling the match, and I still keep that card to this day. I worked with him at Women's Wrestling Army, and the amount of trust that he put in me of like, hey, the reins are yours. Like you're going to be the lead of this broadcast.
Nice.
Yeah, unforgettable.
Yeah.
Absolute legend. I think he's absolutely phenomenal. And another big one was Alicia Taylor. When I was
Nice.
at NXT, she was like my go-to. I would, report to her every day and get so much in-depth feedback, things that on the independents I had never thought about.
Mhm.
The inflection of how you would say a heel's name versus a face's name for a ring announcement. I was like, what? Like,
Yeah.
this is next level. To this day, I just think so incredibly wise, so incredibly graceful, and really, really am grateful for the amount of time I got to spend under her wing.
I'm curious for you. I don't really know how to word this, but is there something different the way you look at something from before NXT to after in the independent scene?
Yeah. I think that the NXT experience, it made me see things in a different lens as far as professionalism.
Okay.
I think that before that, I had known that that was the goal. So I always had this sense of, okay, well, I can't do X, Y, or Z because I want to be considered for this company. Then when I saw how things were done within that company and then being back on the independents, I'm like, all right, cool. I always want to bring that level to my work.
Okay.
It was no longer like, oh, okay, well, I can't do that or that or that because I want to be considered. It was, I've been there, I've done that, and this is now how I'm going to handle things.
Nice. Well, Alyssa, I want to thank you for joining me. I can't believe I reached out. You said yes right away, but I've ended every interview the same. Now, the day you decide it's all done in wrestling, which obviously isn't happening anytime soon, but the day you decide it's all done, what do you want Alyssa Marino's legacy in pro wrestling to be?
She was super nice.
Nice.
I want to leave wrestling a little bit better than I found it. I want people to say, not, oh, she was a great commentator, or she was the best ring announcer. I want it to be like, she was really cool. I felt comfortable with her.
Nice. Alyssa, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Chris. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you, Alyssa, for doing this, and thank you, everybody, for watching this episode. This was Best for Business.
Thank you for watching this episode of Best for Business. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, because this is Best for Business.